Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Sincere from the Standard 81 podcast, and I am coming at you again tonight with the one that I promised you on Friday. I know everybody that I'm a little off schedule, but I do work, so forgive me if my schedule is not exactly the way I've been posting it. But before we get into anything more, let's take that 30-second break and get our minds right, and I'll be right back. All right, here we go. All right. So what's up, YouTube? Before I get started, let me go ahead and first say hit the like, share, subscribe button. And if you are watching this on the second after this is the day after this is recorded, type second watch in the comments. I greatly appreciate it. And also hit that like button as well. That will help me out tremendously. Uh, so let's get into this. I'm talking about what is happening today. And with the holiday seasons being here, by the way, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, happy Kwanzaa. Um, I think the Jewish Christmas have already went by. So shout outs to them as well. Uh, but here's something I've noticed is that as I do deliveries for the public library system, as if you guys don't know, as my daytime job. And as I am driving down the streets and the blocks, the different areas that I have to drop off at, I begin to notice something. I begin to notice that houses were split about 50-50 of houses that were decorated and houses that had nothing. When in prior years to this, almost every house you see, except for maybe two or three, were highly decorated and ready for Christmas. Now, why am I saying that? Why would that even matter? You would say. The reason it would matter, the reason it matters is things are changing. And I don't think they're changing for the better. I believe in the next few years that Christmas may sound like this. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Evening O'Clock News. Happy holidays to everybody. And I hope you guys are celebrating however you celebrate. And on to our evening topics. It'll be more or less a blurb in the day to day affairs. It won't be an event we actually celebrate. And I believe it's due to a lot of things, but here's the thing I really want to push on is I believe it is primarily due to the lack of traditional values going away and family structures going away. I'll say that one more time. Traditional values are disappearing and family structure is going away. The more and more we begin to engage in selfish and self righteous acts, the more we begin to lose what it is that made us who we are. And in turn, we start losing the value of everything that we once held dear and held in high esteem. It is getting to the point now where kids think of Christmas as just another day of getting gifts and not a day to really celebrate. And I'm not saying that this hasn't happened for years, but we are literally going broke to buy our children. Even though I don't have anything, but I've heard this, the stories. We are literally going broke to buy children the top line stuff when after those 1 or 2 days of using that particular item or playing that particular game or being on that phone or being on that brand new iPad, it doesn't have the same luster, and it's either pushed to the side or seen as something that is not as valuable as it once was. And we see that in everything. The value of things has been lost because the tradition and the things that we held dear in the beginning has been lost. We are so materialistic. And I'm not going to say that I'm any better than anybody else, but we are so materialistic in this day and age that we only look at the value of things and how much they cost instead of saying, hey, look, let's look at the value of what things really are and go from there. Now, you people know that I deal particularly in relationships and dating, and you're probably saying to yourself, um, why even talk about culture? Well, I believe that culture is cultivated out of relationships and family. And where you begin to lose those dynamics, you begin to lose culture. Money and possessions are just a sign of a sign of somewhat success. It is not the end all be all of every culture. If it was, we wouldn't see millionaires, billionaires, and people who are well to do some of the strangest things in order to appease themselves. Or when things go downhill, they completely erupt. We should not be trying to find our identity in the things that we possess and the things that we have. And for many of us, that is the critical component of how we measure things. We measure things the in the way that and how much money we have and how many material possessions we have and the stuff that we can acquire and gain. The more we live a life of luxury and ease, the more we say we are prestigious and we've got everything we want until something actually goes down to change the whole situation. And then all of a sudden, our perspective change. How so? I looked at a photograph. And if you notice the photograph in the thumbnail is of a single mother with her child. Now, in this particular photograph, I didn't get a chance to go in there, but it was of a young lady with a young child, and then right underneath her was a baby boy. We are beginning to see that as more the expression of family rather than the atypical Christmas picture, which was father, mother, and children. Now, am I saying that there is anything wrong with a mother being with her kids? No, absolutely not. I am not saying that. But I am saying that is not what is traditionally seen. And I know that we live in a day and age where we say, things need to change, things need to change. We need to figure out how to do things better. But thus far, we haven't figured out how to do anything better than it was before. So why not go back to the drawing board and do what was working until we can figure out how to do it better? Because this continued experiment of trying to reassess and revalue and redo everything that society was built on has led us to utter failure, has led us to failure upon failure upon failure upon failure. Kids are not being educated like they used to, both men and women alike, but especially men. And more of us are enthused. I'm not even sure if I'm using that word in its proper context, but right now I'm trying to find the right word. More of us are overwhelmed with the thoughts of things that we don't have rather than looking at the things we do. For instance, if you live in a decent home and you make a decent income, that used to be okay. Now it's like, it's not enough. 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 When is ever enough enough? Let me say that one more time. When is ever enough enough? Scripture tells me that to keep on chasing after money and material possessions is a fruitless labor. And you say, where do you find that? Well, you find that more in Ecclesiastics. You can find that some in Proverbs, but it is a fruitless effort. Fruitless. Because you accumulate all these things and you get all this money, and then you realize I don't have nobody to share it with. And we talk as though the money and the things that we have is going to build the legacy and the generations for us. No, the possessions and the things that we have do not build legacies and generations. Let me say that the possessions and the money that we have do not build generations and legacy. It is the people that surround us and the people that we pour into and the people that are born from out of us that build legacy and generations. This is the thing we are seeming to forget. And the more of us that continue to say it's my life, it's my life, it's my life, I'm gonna live it the way I want to. I'm gonna get to the bag. I'm gonna do this. I'm forever young and all this other stuff. And if you watch some of my TikToks, by the way, shout out to my TikTok. Uh, Go check that out at the Standard 81 podcast over there at TikTok. Uh, you will see that I do not believe in that forever young mindset. I believe in a youthful mindset, meaning this. It is okay to be youthful. It is okay to want to explore and experiment and do different things to keep yourself vibrant and keep yourself alive. But when you start saying craziness like 30 is the brand new 20 and 40 is the brand new 30, and when do we ever grow up? When do we ever mature? When do we ever get past these points where the things that we do and the things that we accumulate don't mean as much as it means to have somebody? Now, let me stop and say this. I do not for 1 second believe that having things and having money is a bad thing. But let me say this, the Bible says this: money is the root of all evil. Once again, money is the root of all evil. All evil. The root of all evil. One more time. The root of all evil. Money is. So if that doesn't prove to you what we are chasing after is frivolous and nonsense, and at its core, evil, I don't know what else will. What kind of economic downfall? What kind of disaster needs to happen for us to realize that life is about people and not about the accumulations of things? My God, we are changing literally the value in the terminology of the way we do things. It used to be Merry Christmas, and now I hear Happy Holidays because people can be offended by Merry Christmas. What if they don't celebrate that? Okay, so you don't celebrate that. Cool. That's nothing to be upset about. That's nothing to be offended about. Today's culture is beginning to peel away everything that makes us us. I believe, prediction. I believe if we don't begin to wake up and realize where we are headed as a nation and as a people and as a culture, especially as in a black community, in the next 10 to 20 years, we are going to be back to survival of the fittest in a modern era. Dystopias. Everything that video games are now based on and we love playing, I believe that'll be real life. Similar to Cyberpunk 2077. If you haven't played that game is dope. I love that game. The action in there is great. The story is great. I love that game. But the thing that I did realize is when people come up with ideas and such, they just don't come up with it out of thin air. They think to themselves, how could things really be? And I read a book called uh 1985 by George Orwell. And if you haven't read that book, I suggest you read it. It is a fictional book, but wow, does it describe what could possibly happen when you get caught up in self aggrandizing and all this craziness that we are doing today. It's time for us to start getting back to what we know. It's time for us to start getting back to looking at reality the way it really is and saying, okay, I'm good where I'm at. Content Contentment is a good thing. Learning how to live without is a good thing. I hear more and more people say, "Oh, I'm good with myself. I know how to live with myself. I know how to." Then, but the excuse for driving for more is, "I want to be the best version of myself." Why do you need more material possessions and more things in order to be the best version of yourself? I thought that was something that happened internally because money, while it shows discipline and continued responsibility on one part, it doesn't change what's inside of you. Doesn't change your character. And we like to say in this day and age that everything is about character, everything is about this. But more of us, guys and girls alike, are totally shallow. We judge things based upon surface interactions, surface talking points, surface this, surface that. And then when we start digging into things, we find out we're not as healed, we're not as polished, we're not as ready for stuff as we say we are. And we try to blame shift everything on somebody else or particular situation or a particular group or a particular race, whatever the case may be, in order to adjudicate ourselves away from what it is we really need to deal with, which is the man in the mirror or the woman, either one. What is happening in the culture today as we begin to try to redefine everything is we're tearing down the foundations of everything we know to be true, and we're not replacing them with anything worth substance. All we do is fill them up with material possessions and more money and advocate for more things to say, hey, this is what it means to live. Like we're like, oh, we want to travel the world and see all the countries. Cool. How many times can you travel and see the world? Who are you going to share those stories with that actually wants to hear them? Because your homegirls or your homeboys only going to want to hear them stories, but so much. But your grandchildren might, and their grandchildren might. But if we never build that, who we gonna tell them stories to? All this stuff that you learned about yourself, all this wisdom and all these strategies you got, and all this business you built, who you gonna leave it to? I hear people talking about I'm gonna leave it to my nieces and my nephews and stuff like that. Cool, but that's not your generation. That's not your legacy. That's somebody else's. That's your brother or your sister's legacy. And now you've just given them access to everything that you worked hard for. You say it doesn't matter. It lives on through them. No, because at the end of the day, they're gonna celebrate their parents and say thank you for the handover, thank you for the handout, so that I can move up. I appreciate it, but it's not you. I hope this is sinking in because the reality of it all is it starts out with little stuff like this. It starts out with 50% of the neighborhood celebrating Christmas and the other 50% not. And not because of any religious reason, but we just don't want to do it or we don't feel like it. It's not something we do anymore. That's old school. That's how it starts. And then eventually everything just goes into utter chaos. We are having battles and debate about whether or not men who transition into being women, and I'm not discriminating against the LGBT community, should be playing women's sports, which I think is utterly preposterous. If we're going to say it is okay for us to do that, why have different divisions anyway? Why not just put women in the NBA and see if they can hang? What do we need a WNBA for? Are you getting where I'm coming from? This is not to insult anything, but this is to say the reality needs to start hitting us that some of the stuff we are doing is driving us farther away from the outcome that we are hoping for. All because we are super sensitive and because we are too selfish. Let's start examining the stuff that we do. Let's start examining the things that draw our interest. Let's start examining the things that hold our time and captivate us and ask ourselves, is it really elevating us and educating us, or is it just really playing into the stereotypes and everything that we already have in our mind and validating that so that we can continue to move in that same direction? Because I'm going to tell you this, in order to really elevate and move forward, you're going to have to be uncomfortable. You're going to have to want to change. You're going to have to want to do things differently. You can't be in a comfortable position 100% of the 100% of the time and say that you are moving forward and elevating. Any entrepreneur and any businessman knows, in order to move forward, in order to really make something grow, you're going to have to take risk. And in taking risk, you're going to have to do some failure. But if there is continual failure in taking those risks, you need to reevaluate, reassess, and go back to the drawing board and see where you need to start over. We are too worried about comfort and what it is we don't have. And we need to start re examining what we do before we lose it all. And that's all I want to say. Guys, this is going to be my last stream for this year. Well, for the rest of 2023. I will see you again in 2024, which is only a couple of weeks away, but I'm not going to say when I'm actually going to stream yet because I don't know. I'm going to spend some time with family and friends and just chill out. But I hope that this touched you guys, and I hope that whoever's out there celebrating Christmas with family, enjoy who you have, enjoy those people around you. Don't worry about the things you don't, and let yourself be free to live in the moments. Guys, check out my TikTok over there at the Standard 81 podcast. Also, check out my Instagram as well at Sincere the Artist. I got some stuff over there. I'm also streaming these streams over on Facebook, but for those of you that know my Facebook, go check that out there. If you don't worry about it. Uh, and once again, if you're watching this on the second time after this is over, hit that second watch in the comments, and I will see you on the next one. God bless you, and have a great night. Peace to you all.